Thank you for tuning. Test. All right. Thank you for tuning. Widenet 7. Pasha Pablo. Thank you for tuning the replay. Okay. So this is getting good. But I had a version I was just doing, and YouTube was like, oh, this is too good. We gotta mess up a little bit. So we're gonna do this again. But and I'll delete the other one. That's short. Okay, so here we go. What we're gonna go over today is the title is Quit Your Job or Doctor's Orders. All right. Some of y'all may feel like going to work is having an effect on you. It might just be. By the end of this video, you're gonna know that you might not be, there might not be nothing wrong with you as far as what you're thinking. So don't let nobody talk you out of how you feeling. Okay. Again, I'm Pasha Paro. Thank you for tuning. Widen 7. It's the replay. So we're gonna get into this book. Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. I've shown y'all that before. Pick it up if you haven't already. Shout out Simon Sinek. I like a lot of some of the stuff that's in here. You know, he's either done some research himself and or have utilized others' research as high up as the military, who you know has spent millions, if not billions, of dollars on understanding certain sciences and philosophies and principles and psychology and all that, etc. So when you project managing stuff, you know, you allow people to do what they good at and utilize it in your productions. You know what I'm saying? So I'm doing this for y'all. I'm learning stuff too. Everybody wins. Let's get into it. So before we get into the, I need to go over the etymology of the word injury. Okay. Because most people quickly relate to the word injury being, you know, what you think is when you're hurt, like harmed. You know what I mean? Keep in mind that this is also, it also means wrong. So I know that may sound like a little weak, right? But you have to consider the effects and affects of being wronged or having wrong done to you. You know what I mean? Of course, everybody taught you to grow up, be strong, and adapt to your environment. But what if you're adapting to the wrong environment and being strong or trying to be strong in that situation is what's killing you? All right, let's think about it. Okay. So injury, wrong, hurt. We got to look at one more thing to build the foundation that I need everybody to be in that state of mind when we're looking into what we're going to go into today. Before you even share, like, or subscribe, or any of that, in the comments, go ahead and drop your list. I don't care if it's 1, top 3, top 5 of who you feel are the best employers. If you're self-employed and you got your own business and brand, etc., then maybe you feel like your business or you're the best employer, then put that in there and put your link in there too, so that you can get some cross promotion with this. I don't mind. So we know what injury is. We looked at that. Now let's look at this graph here. Okay. I love this graph. Now, if you look at it, it'll show you that wages, compensation, and productivity was doing this nice little barbed wire dance up until the frayed edges at 79. Okay. Then at 79, wages and compensation just flatline almost like boo. Like wages and compensation died in 79. They said these 80s babies is coming, and you know, the Virgos, we can't give them all the money because they're gonna just go crazy with it. Shit's gonna be crazy. All right. So 79, wages and compensation died. It flatlined. But if you look at the graph points at 2009, productivity was up 80% respectively. So wages and compensation was only up 7% and 8%, while productivity is up 80%. All right. So that was 10 years ago. Can you imagine what it is today? You know? And not to mention if that's that what that's basically saying is that over that 30-year period of time, these businesses and corporations and stuff have learned how to get double the work out of you for about the same money, which means you really make half as less per. Okay? And it might be okay with that. I don't know how that makes you feel. If you feel good about that, then more power to you. So now that that's on the table, we see this graph. You got an understanding of productivity versus compensation and wages. You know now what an actual injury is or could be. So let's get into the book, shall we? And I'm just going to pick up in the book. It's page 69. Simon Sinek, shout him out. Leaders Eat Last. Get you a copy. Pasha Pyro recommends it. Okay, so it says, when gazelle senses trouble, it alerts the rest of the herd, increasing the chances of survival for all. Unfortunately, many of us work in environments where members of the group don't care much about another's fate, which means that valuable information like impending danger is often kept secret. As a result, bonds of trust among employees or between leaders and workers are weak, if they exist at all. We are left out. No, we are left almost without an option but to put ourselves first. If we fear our boss doesn't like us, if we are constantly worried that if we make a mistake, we'll get in trouble, if we think that someone we work with will try to take credit for something we did or stab us in the back to get ahead, if we pay attention too much to media hype, if we fear the company isn't going to make the numbers this year and layoffs may be around the corner, if people are generally disengaged, if we do not feel the circle of safety, it's called cortisol, this chemical in your brain starts to seep through our veins, drip, drip, drip. See, check out the song and the video So by Pasha Pyro. You know what I mean? I know a lot of y'all may have seen it already and thought that they were shooting up heroin, which it may look like that in the video. Until you understand the use of metaphors, you may not understand how you were already watching this situation. Okay, so I'm curious to know how many of you out there have experienced this type of stuff, whether it's at your workplace. And keep in mind that this is not just representative or limited to your workplace, your job. It could also be, maybe this is what's wrong with your family, why some of the disconnects exist there. Maybe you're dealing with this in your neighborhood. Maybe this is a problem in your city or your state. Maybe this is what's wrong with the country, right? So, you know what I mean? Like leaders like want to keep the information secret, valuable information they keep in secret. The trust among employees and leaders, you know, like the culture says they are boss. Everybody want to be a boss. Well, what about the workers? I mean, you can't be a boss without workers, and you can't be a worker without a boss. Because if you didn't have a boss, you would be the boss or the owner. So you wouldn't be the worker. You would be the boss that does the work. Anyway, you get what I'm saying, right? Let's keep going. Everybody got somebody trying to take credit for what they did, and you know, you may feel like that's a bad thing if you don't know how to use any tool. It's a bad thing. It's dangerous, right? But if you're familiar with the tool, then you know how to make it work for you. You know what I'm saying? So someone trying to get credit for your ideas, you got to ask yourself, if you're trying to make change, if you're trying to make change at work, right? If you're at work or you're trying to do something, then maybe you're like, I'm not really a social person. I don't have emotional attachments. I don't you know what I'm saying? I'm not that type of social person. Now we want to get some business done. That's me. I can process. This is what we need to do. Bam, bam, bam. But I'm also able to utilize other people's strengths, right? So okay, I know you might look at them like, I know you trying to take my idea, but you got to ask yourself, are you trying to do this so that you can get the fame? Like, you want the work fame? You want the other coworkers and employees to be like, oh, hail so and so. You know what I mean? You want fame from it, or you just try and get it done so that the change can be implemented so that everybody can benefit from it? Is it about you? Or was it, like So says, what if it wasn't about you? Then you were just worried about getting it done. You know what? I know you're gonna try to take credit for my idea, but I also know that because they think I'm shrewd and imposing, that they'll listen to you, even though I haven't told them the same thing for the last 4 years. So let me put this in your head so you can go run and tell it to people, and then the change happens. It might be a good thing. All right. So anyway, media hype. They try and stab you in the back. Maybe you don't have a job that's trying to get numbers, but maybe you own your own business, so you're not looking at it that way. But maybe you need to look at it like the rent is your numbers. You try and get your numbers too. So what I'm trying to translate is that, despite that this is talking about work and jobs, don't limit it to the workplace. Think about your home life. Think about your everyday interactions. Think about the stuff you see in the world, the news, the propaganda. That's broadcast. That's media hype. That's print and broadcast. Now I'm broadcasting live on YouTube. People on Facebook, you worried about what they say. All this stuff can be translated. It's the same thing, whether it's the workplace or not. All right. So let's get back to the book real quick. This is a serious problem. For one thing, cortisol actually inhibits the release of oxytocin. Don't laugh if I mess up the word. Google it and try to pronounce it yourself and be entertained a little bit by my stumbles, okay? So the chemical responsible for empathy. This means that when there's only a weak circle of safety and people must invest time and energy to guard against politics and other dangers inside the company, it actually makes us even more selfish and less concerned about one another or the organization. Now you see why I'm saying, think about all these effects inside your workplace and just inside your life in general, because you'll see the parallels and similarities. So I'm interested again in the comments below. Go ahead, drop that. If you have experienced this stuff and how, maybe you've experienced that work. If you care to share, drop it in the comments below. Maybe it's something you're dealing with a family member. Drop it in the comments below. People need to know that other people are going through the same thing. So look, right? Working in an unhealthy, unbalanced culture is a lot like climbing Mount Everest. It's the book. We adapt to our surroundings. Ain't that what they tell you supposed to do, man? Just when in Rome, do like the Romans, fit in, man. Oh, you can't adapt to this. Oh, man, you weak, Maybe you just like, hold up, man. I don't like this. This is like a knife. I feel like a knife. You know why? This ain't me. Whatever it is, don't let someone talk you out of what you feel about yourself. You know better. You know best. So climbers know we adapt to our surroundings. Even though the conditions are dangerous, climbers know to spend time at base camp to adapt. In time, their bodies will get accustomed to the conditions so that they can persevere. You know what I'm saying? But maybe it's not something you're supposed to be trying to persevere through. You know? Did you think of that? Like, consider that. Consider that for yourself. So we do the same thing in in an unhealthy culture. If the conditions were violent or shocking, with the threat of layoffs every single day, we would never stay. All right. But when the conditions are more subtle, things like office politics, opportunism, the occasional rounds of layoffs, and a general lack of trust among colleagues, we adapt. So you're adapting to the poison. You see what I'm saying? And although it's not a large dose, a high dosage, you know, you're still going to have the effects of the poison. And then over time, if you're not detoxing, the poison levels are building up and it just kills you slowly over time. Watch this. I'm going to skip ahead in the book for a minute and we're going to go to this breakdown here. So, a constant flow of cortisol isn't just bad for organizations, it can also be serious. It can also do serious damage to our health. Like the other selfish chemicals, cortisol can help us survive, but it isn't supposed to be in our system all the time. So where do you spend most of your time at? At work. So you're you're the most chemical you might be pumping in your brain and out of your brain into your body is the one that ain't supposed to be there all the time. So you put 8 hours of that chemical into you, then 2 hours to travel traffic releasing the same chemical. Then you get home and you wonder why you're mad at your kids or you're mad at your spouse. Okay, let's keep going. So it wreaks havoc with our glucose metabolism. It also increases blood pressure and inflammatory responses and impairs cognitive ability. It's harder to concentrate on things outside the organization if you stress about what's going on inside. It might even be harder to concentrate on at the task you're doing at work all of a sudden because they done doubled your productivity and told you they ain't giving you but 2%. And that means that now you making half as much per the work you're doing as what you used to. So you can't even focus on what you're doing, and they asking you what's wrong with you. Then they want to threaten you with the layoffs because they saying you're not meeting numbers, right? Whatever it is. You see how this is a domino effect. So I'm glad you're here with this still. Share this with your friend and family. Y'all need to know this so y'all can understand how to protect yourselves. Cortisol increases aggression, suppresses our sex drive, and generally leaves us feeling stressed out. So you think they got a temper problem, right? As far as their personality. And some days it may be more aggressive than others. But in reality, maybe it's their job. Or you see how the job parallels any environment, or maybe it's their relationship they trying to hang on to. All right, let's go. So cortisol increases aggression, suppresses our sex drive, and generally leaves us feeling stressed out. And here's the killer, literally, cortisol prepares our body to react suddenly to fight or run in circumstances or as circumstances demand. Because this takes a lot of energy, when we feel threatened, our bodies turn off non-essential functions such as digestion and growth. Once stress has passed, these symptoms are turned on again. Unfortunately, the immune system is one of the functions that the body deems non-essential. So it shuts down during cortisol bursts. In other words, if we work in environments in which trust is low, relationships are weak, or transactional and stress and anxiety are normal, we become much more vulnerable to illness. You see what I'm saying? You become much more vulnerable to illness. That's an injury. Injury. All right, so let me skip here. Look, so watch this, and here's a nice disclaimer, right? So of course, stress alone does not cause or is not causing. Hold on, let me get to this part first. This part right here. Watch this. To me again. Think about your work. Think about your environment. Think about your family, your relationships. If any of those have any of this stuff we just covered, you feel that way about it, this is the part you spent the last 20 minutes with me for. Okay, now that we have a complete understanding, because productivity, they just like more and more and more and more. What do you mean your mom? What do you mean your kids? What do you mean more and more and more and more? What do you mean you produce more? So all that stuff, your spouse want more what? Your time, more money, bigger house, more what? This, that, and the other, whatever it is. Even if you feel like you've adapted to those friends and family members, you're still drinking the poison. This is why they call me dismissive. Okay. So the interesting part here I wanted to give you guys is, so whereas oxytocin is OXYTOCIN. All right, let's get it. So whereas oxytocin boosts our immune system, cortisol compromises it. That our modern world has seen high rates of cancer, diabetes, heart disease, and other preventable illnesses may not be a coincidence. Today, these conditions are far more likely to kill us than threats like, so today these conditions are far more likely to kill us than threats like violent crime or terrorism. And here's where you get some real numbers, okay? Facts. So the National Counterterrorism Center estimates that more than 12,500 people were killed worldwide by terrorists in 2011. According to FBI statistics, about 165,000 people were murdered in the United States between 2000 and 2010. So in a whole decade, 165,000 people, give or take, were murdered. All right. More than 2/3 of them with a firearm. And they give the note that FBI statistics do not include Florida. Compare those numbers to the 600,000 people who die every year in the United States from heart disease, and the additional nearly 600,000 people who died of cancer in 2012, for example. The evidence becomes stark. Think about that. 7 times more people die each year from heart disease and cancer than all people murdered in a decade. And here's the disclaimer. Of course, stress alone is not causing all of these deaths, but the numbers are so huge that, of course, stress alone is not causing all of these deaths, but the numbers are so huge and growing. It seems only responsible for the leaders of organizations to take some accountability for how they may be contributing. That something as simple as a corporate incentive system or corporate culture is actually contributing to those statistics is horrifying. Our jobs, that means all Americans, maybe the global system, our jobs are literally killing us. Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last. Get the book if you don't have it already. I told you a few times before. All right. So if you hadn't already, put in the comments who's your best employer before you like and subscribe. Share the video. So, when you look at that, right, your job might be killing you. That relationship literally might be killing you. When I say relationship, I mean it could be the work relationships. It could be the relationship you're trying to hang on to at your household. It could be relationships with your friends and family. It could be the neighborhood. It could be the city, the state. You know what I'm saying? Like, supposedly, the way they explain how our ancestors behaved, or you know how that goes, that story is, whatever. But they claim that we were at some point hardwired to really work well in small groups. Okay? Dunbar's number off the top of my head was saying that the average human can only really successfully manage about 150 different relationships. Right? So anything more than that, and you start to lose quality of the relationship. That's increasing stress, aggravation, all that stuff comes into play. So I'm curious. How many of you have experienced this at the job? Quitting your job may benefit your health. Quitting those relationships may benefit your health. You might live longer if you turn your back on family. You may be more healthier if you actually believe in yourself more than you do others. So, thank you for tuning. YNet7. I'm Pasha Pablo. And keep in mind, if you're an employer out there or you own your own business and you calling yourself a boss, you got a team, what have you, care about your workers. Because otherwise, you're either intentionally putting them in this position or you have practiced negligence and put your team, your workers, the people around you, the people that's supposed to be growing with you in this position. And this is what you're doing to their health. You get a new job, a couple years later, you start having all these health problems. You need this video to think about. You get in a relationship, all of a sudden, a couple years down the road, you start having health problems. This video may be for you. If you know someone in these circumstances, send them this link after you subscribe. Thank you for tuning. The replay. I'm Pasha Paro, YNet7.